Hello, everyone. This is Al. I'm here with Andrew Vasquez. This is our pilot edition of the Expat Hour. Andrew has been doing a lot of research in many different countries, has studied the business. He's particularly interested in Paraguay, and he came across a number of fundamental questions that people ask over and over again about what it takes to move to Paraguay.
All right. Al, thank you so very much for your time this evening. So, Al, in working with clients, in working with trying to pair them up with a host nation that matches their desires, their goals, their objectives, whatever the case may be, recently we've had people reaching out asking about Paraguay. And of all of the questions that have come up, I found that these are some of the more common questions. So, Al, again, you're currently in Paraguay. The
Mhm.
issue of security comes up quite a bit. How safe is Paraguay?
Well, by Latin American standards, it's actually quite safe. It's safer than Brazil, it's safer than Uruguay, than Argentina, than Chile, than Colombia, than Bolivia. I would even go so far as to say that the safety levels here are about on par with Uruguay, which has taken a notch down in safety lately. Uruguay is the richest and has always been the safest country in the region, but lately it's fallen upon hard times. There's too much inflation, it's too expensive, there's a lot of inequality, and the local workers are suffering because of the pandemic. A lot of businesses went under. The war created supply chain disruptions. So right now, I'd even tell you that the safety here is probably better than it is in Uruguay. And I know expats from many different countries who used to live in Uruguay and they left because it's too cold, too expensive, and now it's getting too dangerous. When you have inequality, you get crime. But here, in most places in Paraguay, you got to know that you're not in Europe. We're not in Kansas anymore. This is still a developing country, so don't let your guard down completely. That is, don't walk around with your cell phone at night. Don't carry around gold. Don't show off that you have money. But just take precautions. Take an Uber. Take a taxi when you know where you're going. Stay in Villamora, Recoleta. Don't go to the center. Stay focused on safe areas, and there is a number of them. In Asuncion, there are some other cities that are safe, and you're not going to have any problem at all. This is not Buenos Aires. This is not Rio de Janeiro. It's just not that bad. So the safety is as good as it gets for the amount of money that you'll be paying. I'll leave it at that.
Al, can you give our prospective clients, members of our audience from the United States, a better benchmark? Okay, how safe would you say Paraguay is compared to the United States?
Well, I'd say Paraguay is about as safe as the average American state. So I'm from Michigan in the United States, so I'd put it there. Like Detroit is much more dangerous than Asuncion. Detroit is right on par with Sao Paulo. I mean, you can look this up on Nambio, Expatistan. You can dig up statistics. Cities like Detroit, Chicago, Houston, and Miami, all are gonna outdo Asuncion by a wide margin when it comes to muggings, murders, thefts. If you want to talk California, what a zombie apocalypse region, you're not gonna find it. This is still a very family oriented and a peaceful country, as you said, Andrew, and at the last show. The one reason you like the Philippines is that there is social cohesion. There is
Mhm.
traditional morality. There are people who still value their families. They have basic decency. And you're just not finding this in most places in the United States. So I think, Andrew, for the same reason that you like the Philippines, you're going to like Paraguay. Now, neither is completely safe. Yeah, if you want to compare this to some of our best known cities in the US, like the ones I mentioned, or even if you want to talk about Seattle, Portland, or Atlanta, you're going to be pleasantly surprised that it's actually much safer here.
That's actually really good perspective, Al. So we do business. We do a lot of free consultations with people who are interested in expatriation, but they've actually, believe it or not, never set foot outside the United States. So they don't have an accurate benchmark pertaining to safety. And so when you compare that to some of the more better known cities and states here in the US, that really puts things into perspective. So thank you for that. So, Al, another big question that comes up is how much do I need to spend in order to live well in Paraguay? That can
Well,
be
mhm.
relative, can't it?
Yeah, it depends on how well you want to live. All right, so I personally pay $600 per month with Airbnb and to live in Villamora. This is right. This is as good as it gets, and it's a nice apartment. With two bedrooms, massive kitchen, balcony space. It's totally walkable. There are restaurants, cafes, shopping malls around here, and that's $600. Now, I like to go out to restaurants. I don't like to cook at home. But when I go out to dinner at a nice place and it's just me, I would expect to spend between $20 and $25. If you really want to splurge, of course, you can spend much more. But if you're careful, if you don't mind going out to the grocery store and buying groceries for a week, you can easily get away with two to $300 a month. So you can make it on under 1,000. Now that's not luxurious living for one person. If you're a couple, and if one of you likes to cook at home, and you really want to go to Paraguay to save money, you can get by on 1,000 to 1,200. And if you want to have an extensive entertainment budget within reason, okay, you can make it up to 1,500. But if you're spending more than $2,000, even for your lifestyle as a couple, then you're splurging, right? You don't need to do that. You're doing this for fun, and you gotta cut corners. But so to give you the short answer, I'd say $1,000 is probably reasonable if you don't mind living in a not so nice apartment and then maybe not the best area. You could probably even do it for $800, maybe even $700. And most local people don't make that kind of money. But if you want to live in the nicest neighborhood as I do, well, plan on spending at least $1,000. And if you want to live comfortably, I'd say 1,500 should be more than enough for you to be doing quite well.
So that really, again, that puts things into perspective. So the dollar is still quite strong over there in Paraguay. Mm-hmm. And so the very idea that you can go and have the type, and in some of the previous episodes that we've done, you've shown the audience your balcony view, your apartment. You've shown exactly what it is that $600 will buy you over in Paraguay. And when you compare that to the United States, where you have a lot of apartments that are going, lower end apartments in major cities going for $1,500 to $2,000 a month just in rent alone, that really gives our audience members some good perspective about how far their dollar can go overseas.
Yeah, well, think of it this way. Whatever you're spending on rent, I promise you, this is going to be enough to cover all your expenses in Paraguay. Most people who are watching this are probably spending at least $1,500 on just rent, not counting the utilities. So if you're paying through the nose, say $1,800 or even $2,000 just for a not so luxurious apartment, not such a comfortable place to live, keep in mind that you could probably take that money to Paraguay and live very well. And barely ever going to the grocery store. Can be eaten out most days of the week and still spending less than what you're spending on rent right now.
This is really good information. Now, also, we have a lot of clients that are at retirement age. They're looking to go ahead and really enjoy their retirement years. We also have a lot of younger men who are trying to become or are already exercising some form of digital online business. They're digital nomads, so to speak. And so there's actually a big interest on both ends of those spectrums in nightlife, going out, dating, things of that nature. Al, how much would you say, for example, you wanted to go ahead and take someone out to dinner for two, and you wanted to go ahead and take them to a really nice restaurant there in Paraguay, dinner, drinks, entertainment, the whole thing. How much can somebody expect to spend in terms
of... if you really want to splurge and you want to go to a high-end place, say in La Galeria, as they call it, the best-known shopping mall, that's known for people who have money. So last time I went there, I spent 600,000 guaranis on a dinner for two, and that's with a wine and a nice Italian meal included, a whole bottle of wine. So let me crunch the numbers. How much is that? So 600 divided by 8. Yeah, we're looking at like $75. And keep in mind, I left a tip because the service was great. What they wanted to charge me was 520,000 guaranis, so that's $60. But being from the United States, I like to reward great customer service. And believe it or not, it's not easy to find in a Spanish-speaking country. People are not used to tips. But if you go to a high-end place, well, yeah, you may want to tip, but it's not required. So that cost me $75. The most I've ever spent was $90, and that was the best-known sushi place in Carmelitas. Carmelitas is the best-known neighborhood, best-known area in all of Paraguay. That's where the rich go dine out, including the president himself. Super safe. You'll never ever have a problem there with safety, with muggings. $90 was tops that I spent, and that was really pushing it. I mean, that was a high-end sushi dinner with cocktails. I've never ever paid more than that. And I'm thinking, what did I spend when I went out? When I went out to another place in La Galleria. Okay, so that was what, like 450,000 for meat. Oh, that is okay. That's divide that by that's like $50. I mean, $50 is probably what you can expect to spend in most high-end places. If you really want to go very high-end, you may spend between 70 and 90, but I'd be surprised if you somehow drop more than $100, no matter what you do.
So for our audience here, and again, our people who are overseas, not everyone who's watching here is in the United States. Some of them are also from other areas overseas. But to give you all some perspective, I live here in Texas. For those of you that are living or tuning in from California, New York, New Jersey, Florida, any of the major cities or states here in the US, the idea of you taking out that special someone out for a night, for dinner, drinks, the whole 9 yards, and spending less than $100 on really high-end service, high-end places, that's essentially unheard of.
So what would you look to spend in your area, Andrew?
In my area, if we're talking about a really nice dinner for two, drinks at a really upscale place, you're looking at least $200.
At least, and that's the start.
And we're talking about a really nice place. And again, when you start throwing drinks into the equation, a dessert, tip, entrees, whatever the case may be, the fact that you're talking about stretching that to the absolute maximum and you're paying about $90, I really just want to go ahead and draw that comparison, because this is important for the members of our audience that are considering doing this for the purpose of not only just surviving overseas, but really enjoying and thriving overseas. Yeah, they want to know more or less how much they can expect to go ahead and spend on basic expenses such as housing. But really, a lot of our clients are also interested in how much they're going to be able to really enjoy their retirement or enjoy making money overseas if they live in Paraguay. So this is very helpful, Al.
Well, even if you're a senior citizen in the United States and you're getting, say, $2,000 of Social Security checks, here's my advice for you. Forget Mexico. Mexico is too expensive now. It used to be cheap when I lived there in 2019, but even then people told me that, all the locals and expats told me that there was a massive price hike. Too many Americans are coming. Forget that. This is a rookie mistake. Forget Colombia, dear Jesus. So just scratch that off. So many reasons. We'll have another show about that. Don't go to Costa Rica, because Costa Rica is about to be as expensive as some of the. Actually, it is already expensive in some of the states in the U.S. Sooner than you know it, it's going to be as expensive as Georgia or South Carolina. It may well be there. But if you go to Paraguay and you have $2,000 just for yourself, and you're a senior citizen, and you are not in the habit of spending your money extravagantly, you can go out to eat 3 to 4 times a week with that income easily. Lunch, breakfast, and dinner. And you're still going to save money. And so, but if you're a retired couple with, say, $3,000 to $4,000 in Social Security checks, or you have a fixed income, or you're in the military and the police, and you're getting several $1,000s in retirement, forget about retraining. I mean, you don't necessarily need to transition into the civilian world. You can take that money and you can live perfectly fine, perfectly comfortably in Paraguay. And if you want to save more money for your retirement, you can. I mean, you can live very well on just $1,500. So if you're getting, say, $3,000 and you spend $1,500 and living in the most luxurious neighborhood in the entire country, and you're still saving $1,500, why not? I mean, what sense does it make to stay in the U.S. or go to Mexico, Colombia, or Costa Rica?
Now, this is a huge deal. I don't want to go ahead and pass up on this opportunity to discuss this too quickly, Al, because this is actually a huge deal for our clients. It's hard to really impart to our audience how many people who are living on a fixed income in their retirement years reach out to us. Just earlier today, I was just, in all of my undertakings, all of my journeys, I was on my phone and I saw a vlog of a guy who was just short of 62 years of age. He doesn't quite qualify for his Social Security income yet, but he recently got laid off from his job. And so he's trying to figure out a way to go ahead and drive for Uber Eats, to drive Uber, and to find all kinds of creative ways to get an income going, to avoid tapping into his retirement early. When really that guy, if he were just open to the concept of relocating, a lot of those issues would take care of themselves.
Well, let me ask you this. Does this guy have any savings at all? And if he taps into his retirement early, what kind of a monthly income can he expect to get?
I don't know the specifics, but I do know that the entire premise of the situation that he's in is that he's focused on maximizing his retirement income outside of Social Security, and he won't maximize it if he dips into it at this current point in time. And I'm thinking to myself, it kind of like that commercial used to say, it's your money and you need it now.
Yeah.
If it's your money and you need it now, and if you're in truly a dire situation where you've lost your primary source of income, if you could move to a place where you could live on a fraction of what you typically live off of, you dipping into your bridge account early wouldn't even be a consideration for you, wouldn't be something that's on of a major concern to you. And so really, you giving us this information, Al, this actually helps our audience tremendously.
Yeah, and one thing I'd recommend to him is that don't think so much about, being penny wise and pound foolish. Don't think about how much money you're going to need in America in 5 years when you're 67. Think about how much richer and more comfortable you'll be now, even if you do take that pay cut, even if you do end up getting less money. The question is not how much money you have, but what you can do with it. What yours money that doesn't spend. What is your purchasing power? And your purchasing power in Paraguay with the US dollars will be much, much higher than it would be in the US, even if you do end up taking a pay cut.
Also, it's important and we have this discussion quite a bit with clients. I, for one, am not a certified financial advisor, so I don't actually make any official recommendations to people. I just give a lot of clients perspective. I give them my perspective, what I would do in certain situations. And I tell people this all the time. You have no idea how much longer you're going to live. You spend all of your working life, working and working and working, waiting until you hit that magic age, whatever that age is to you, whether you're planning on retiring in your 60s, your 70s, your 50s, 40s, whatever the age may be. You don't really know when your time is coming. You could get ill. You could get hit by a bus. You don't know. So this idea of I'm avoiding in a dire situation where I've lost my income, I'm avoiding tapping into my retirement income early to maximize dollars to live here in the US, when instead I could relocate overseas and dip into that money now and substantially increase my quality of life. These are things that people are shy to think about for some reason. And so you giving us this perspective, Al, is actually tremendously helpful.
And beyond that, think about how much more comfortable you'll feel here.
Yeah.
There's no school shootings. There's no craziness. There's nobody yelling your ear off about politics. There is none of this constant dread and anxiety that the media, the news anchors, and our social media activists like to push on everybody. Here in Paraguay, the culture is calm. It's nothing like Brazil. There's loud music. It's nothing like the West. They value tranquility and peace and stability. It's a very stable country with low inflation, for one. Very little political unrest. So beyond money, you've got to think about your own sanity, the state of your mental well-being.
Absolutely. For members of our audience that are joining us in this show for the very first time, a few shows back, we actually did a whole episode on the incident that took place in the New York City subway. That kind of thing is an absolute tragedy. We don't support or advocate violence in any way, shape, or form over here at the Expat Hour. But by relocating overseas to a place that has a more stable culture, those are the types of issues that you can avoid.
Yeah, and I think it's especially interesting, Andrew, that you found our relocation services when you came to me with the same problem. You wanted to live in a more stable,
Yeah.
more traditional society, and we recommended the Philippines to you, specifically Cebu. And Paraguay meets a lot of the same criteria. The only advantage of the Philippines is that people speak pretty good English there, but here there are just so many expats, so many foreigners coming, so many businesses that are tailored to the English-speaking world. So you could probably get by fine here without knowing much Spanish.
That's a great segue into our next commonly asked question, Al, and that is how easy is it to get around without knowing the language or understanding the culture in Paraguay?
Well, I'll be frank. Most places in Paraguay, it's not very easy because it's a landlocked country which is not so integrated into the global economy the way Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Chile may be. But there is this niche here that we call Villa Mora, right? A place called Carmelitas. That's one of the best known places for tourism and expats and upper end locals. If you stick to the expat enclaves, there's just so many coming in. You'll do just fine. In fact, I know expats who do not know a single word of Spanish. They somehow get around with their Google Translate. They mostly hang out with people from their country or the English-speaking world. I've been to many the language exchange groups, and I was just one of the very few people who speak Spanish. A lot of these expats do seek me out for help, but the reality is that as much as they would benefit from knowing Spanish and understanding the culture, they really don't need it. I mean, they can get by just fine with people from their homeland or anybody who speaks English, and there's so many foreigners who do just that. But I would recommend that you at least try to learn the Spanish language. It's gonna go a long way. It will help, but it's not a necessity.
And this is not a process that our audience has to navigate alone. Everything that we have discussed here, getting in contact with expats overseas, understanding the currency exchange rates, understanding what countries are going to be a best fit for you, your personality type, and your quality of life expectations. These are all things that we can help you with. And we encourage you to go ahead and reach out for a free consultation. Al, how would our audience members do that?
Well, at the bottom of each video, you're going to see a description. The first thing you'll see is what we're discussing here, and secondly is the link where you can book a free consultation. That's right, 30 minutes, gratis, no charge, not one penny. 30 minutes, half an hour, a discussion on anything you want. Book it, and I'll be there. And then we'll see how we can best suit your needs, whether Paraguay is right for you or whether you want to go to the Philippines or Europe or anywhere. We have specialists who live and work in many different countries, and the sky's the limit. So whatever you need to know about expatriation and relocation, book your free consultation, and we'll see how we can best assist you.
This is outstanding. Again, just to reiterate, it's a free consultation. There are no obligations to purchase anything. And Al, we also take great pride in the fact that we don't spam any of our prospective clients with emails or anything that they don't want. We get them only what they want and need, nothing that they don't. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So whenever somebody wants a free consultation, I try to ask them what they want to talk about. Most of the time, they don't really know. So this is just their opportunity to see what it's like to talk to me in person, what it's like to discuss the various ideas related to expatriation. But then, if they choose to proceed with an actual consultation, then I'm gonna need a more specific account of what they would like to discuss, because time is money. You know, we're not gonna waste your time with a random extemporaneous discussion. So whatever it is that you need, I think the initial free consultation is a great place to start, and then we'll put you on the right track. You've got nothing to lose, truly.
Al, this has been incredibly informative. Thank you so very much for your time this evening. Again, to everybody that's joined us this evening, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to working with you very soon.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks to everybody for watching, and you'll be hearing from us again.